Yo, not much, man. I'm on a makeshift right now. Like I just have, hopefully it doesn't sound terrible, but
No, it's
I'm
not bad
just
at
using
all.
my laptop. My wife kicked me out of the office. We rearranged the boys' rooms, and so my office is now not set up out in the garage. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll just run into one of the bedrooms real quick and make it
Perfect.
happen.
Perfect. Perfect.
Oh, how are you doing? You guys got a lot going on. Little man just turned 1. You guys moved into a new spot.
Yeah, just been busy, dude. That's why we haven't been able to catch up much. But
Oh, hey.
yeah, I was trying to get the gym together in the
Oh,
basement,
how's
so
that
that
going?
it's starting to come together. It's starting to come together. I'll keep you updated on that as that comes along. But
Yeah.
so yeah, all of that, and then prepping, and then just work.
Oh. Oh, that's right. You did say you're getting ready to start prep for a show, right?
Yeah, so we started like a little bit. We're kind of in like the pre-prep phase.
Just cleaning things up and
Yeah,
getting
we're
thing kind of
working on just getting everything running really optimal digestion,
right.
make sure the blood work's really, really good. Um, just setting everything up to really, turn the dials up. So already starting to get a little bit hungry, so I'm getting leaner. Next week will be 16 weeks out, so we'll
You know,
really actually start prepping around then. Um,
nice.
yeah, but for now, we were just like cleaning off, some inflammation, cleaning up some blood work stuff that I wanted in a better spot,
Yeah.
typical stuff, um, and just getting everything in order with that, keeping stress down,
Yep.
um, just getting everything firing and dialed in. So that started about 6 weeks ago. We've really just been tweaking little things and just dialing everything in. And man, I next week I feel like I'm going to be in a really good spot to start turning things up. So I'm working with Danny Lamartina for my training. So on her end of things, we've been doing the same thing, just like
Right.
priming the body and getting it ready to go through a whole prep of training. So she's doing her magic on that end, and then AJ's doing everything else on his end. So
I love it.
um, I'm just being the robot, just plugging along.
Nice. Well, yeah, you have to keep everybody posted as we go through.
Yeah,
I
what's up
just
with you in the growth phase and
Yeah,
whatnot?
so just finished. I'm gonna put some stuff out on Instagram here shortly. Just doing a couple of reels, kind of talking about what the goals were, how the response went, what the next steps are, all that good stuff. And then the plan was 16 weeks. I stopped it early this week at 15. Um, did an in body, and I always tell people, I don't take those for face value, but it's a good tool to see trends over time.
Something, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
whether I'm truly 12%, which I know I'm not, it's just, did the body fat go up or down from the last time I took it? Did the, increase in muscle mass go up or down last time? And so those are kind of the metrics that I just look at overall. Everything as far as in body said went really well. I think I was up in the last 3 or 4 months, so about 14 weeks. I took it at week 1, around week 8, and then just this last week.
Hmm.
Uh, it was about 3%, 3 to 4% accrual of body fat, which matches up with photos. I do photos every week, just as if I was going to send a check-in. I just kind of keep my own log. I know we've talked about that before. But increase in muscle mass, which definitely shows. The goal was to put more size on the back. Definitely brought that up. I
So
stopped it early.
what is that, like a quarter% of body fat a week?
I
Yeah,
think so. I think
right
so.
around there, right? Quick math. It would,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So
and
like,
looking at
man, that's not bad.
No, in total trends over time, like the second week post show, I was about 210, and that was almost a year ago.
Okay.
So in a year, and I just stopped, I was 238. I'm 234 today.
Nice.
That was as of Friday. So in a year, it realistically was about 28 pounds. Um, and so the goal from here now, well, I'm stopping a little bit early just because the in-body shows things are going well. My body feels good, but things are
Hmm.
just starting to level out. And I'm at the point where adding more food is not going to be a benefit. It'll be
Hmm.
more of just a detriment and adding body fat. I found over years, whether I eat very clean or whether I eat garbage, obviously I can get away with eating more food that's clean. Um, but I just found that like 3,200 calories is kind of my limit to the point where my
Hmm.
body just starts putting fat on. Um, it doesn't matter how clean those calories are. It doesn't matter,
No.
unless I really up my output to kind of coincide. But aside from that, it's just, I added some food. It didn't really
Well,
push the. Oh,
and
go ahead.
then what's the point of doing that?
Exactly. And that was my thought
You
is
know what
I
I
was,
mean? Yeah.
and I've been holding, so I've been the same weight for the last 4 to 5 weeks, just continually getting stronger. So I'm like, there's really no point to add food. And that was at the upper end of my limit. I was about 3,000 calories. I started plateauing, weight or strength still kind of going up, but not nearly the jumps that I was seeing before. And so it just felt like a good time to, and I mean, I'm not going into a cut or anything. I'm going to pull about 400 to 500 calories out for 6 to 8 weeks. Let my body just kind of clean out a little bit, pulled all the supplements. So I'll just hover right around 225, continue to get stronger, and then go back into another push phase and see if we can't, get more benefit out of it.
So before I dive into this,
Yeah.
you had a question about that. When do we stop pushing things like that? So
Yeah. And
um,
it was a
why don't
question I
you
got from a couple of people.
run us in, and then let's start with that because
Like it.
yeah, I think that is going to be a good topic because I have a few thoughts on like what you could do
Okay.
and should you do it, maybe not, right? Depending on where you are and everything like that. So yeah, run us in, Devon.
All right, sounds good. All right, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Bar, where we go over more than just the X's and O's of bodybuilding. We go beyond into things like family and everything else outside of the stage. So I'm your host, Devin Grogans, here with co-host Tommy John, and we got a good episode. It's been a few weeks, but we're gonna dive into it. We're gonna keep things rolling, and we're gonna get right back on track. So let's jump in right away. And it is when should you, or when is a good time to pull back or stop your bulk phase?
Yeah, so if you guys watched that short little intro we had there, we were talking about Devin kind of hit a point where he's like, hey, maybe it's time. Um, maybe this has seen its full course and maybe it's time to chill. Um, Basically, you were saying, the composition is starting to get unfavorable, but performance is still there. You still overall feel good. Um, and really, the next, you had a few choices that you could go.
Hmm.
You're choosing to let up a little bit, pull
Yep.
back. Um, the only other lever you really had to pull at this point would be adding more gear.
Yep. And I ran this was very, very, very minimal.
Yep.
And that was the goal the whole time, was to keep that there and just strictly adjust food
Yep.
as really the only added anabolic metric.
Yeah, so that was really probably the only choice you had at that point was whether it be even just research peptides and things that you could
Hmm.
start toying with, or obviously just turn up gear, or um, you really would have had to go that route at that point because the body has now partitioned all the nutrients it's going to be able to. Um, you could manipulate training frequency and volume a little bit, um, but really, that's a telltale sign of when the gear needs to get turned up. And um, whether you're, looking to compete and things like that, that's going to be where you make that decision.
Yep.
The only other choice you had was to start changing how cyclic you're being with the
Hmm.
diet, right?
Yep.
So really turn down your non-training days to like starving, and then really turn up your high day or your skip load day, whichever you were doing,
Hmm.
um, dramatically, like a huge, huge carb load, right?
Yep. And that was a consideration too.
Yeah. So that's and the with that, you could potentially increase daily steps, and you might have been able to sneak in a few more weeks,
So
maybe, but
we'll come back to that. So definitely pin the step thing because that is something that will
mhm,
lead into the next topic that we're gonna talk about today. But you're absolutely right.
mhm,
And I actually went the opposite. I actually pulled cardio completely out
yeah,
uh, for the last 4 to 5 weeks now. I just put it back in this last week. But even then, and we've talked about it before, prior to that, I let up a little bit and I was getting steps, but I can't say I was doing true cardio. My heart rate was like 98 to 110. So I was just hitting step metrics where, yes, you're absolutely right. I could have dialed that back into the minimum 120, 125 heart rate.
mhm,
Uh, and then worked it that way. One of the biggest deciding factors for me now, and everything you said, I completely agree with. If I was working with a client and there was a show, say down the road, if this was an off season that was leading into a prep or
yeah,
just a really good year for growth, I would have ridden this out and I would have done every single thing you just said as far as those levers go. Manipulated the low days to be even lower, the high days to be even higher for training,
yeah,
to be able to partition those even better. um, I would have done, we would have looked at an increase in gear. We would have looked at, some of those things.
mhm.
For me, with no real goal other than just increase, back thickness.
Just
Um,
be jacked.
just yeah, pretty much.
just, just overall be
Yeah,
jacked for
yeah.
life. Yeah.
Um, with that being the goal, I hit that. I was getting to a point where I wasn't uncomfortable to eat, but it was one of those things where it was like, oh yeah, I got to eat again. Oh, it's time to eat again.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
And that for me was the biggest sign to just pull back a little bit. I hadn't been hungry in weeks, and so
That's such a huge tool.
yeah.
And man, I'm the first one to say that I am a fan of things like retatrutide and
Hmm.
um, the other GLP-1s and twos
Yep.
and threes and whatever people call them now. I am a fan of those, but you have to be careful that sometimes you'll lose that tool,
Yep.
that and what you just said is really important. Hey, my appetite was kind of starting to turn down, um, and when you have something in there, like a retatrutide, for example, even at a low dose, incredibly beneficial in a
Oh yeah.
growing phase. um, but you cannot always use the appetite as a tool anymore.
Hmm.
Um, and it really changes, because I think appetite's one of the biggest tools we have.
I
You
agree,
know,
especially in a push or a bulk phase.
yeah, you hit one of those high carb days, and all of a sudden your appetite's on fire. It's like, okay, that was needed. That did what it was supposed to. And now we know what to do next week, right?
Hmm.
So blunting that tool is it it's just risky.
Yep.
You just have to look at the other tools become more important at that point, right? um, but yeah, that was just something I want to mention, because I swear some guys just don't want to feel appetite at all anymore.
Yeah.
I see guys taking like 10 milligrams of retatrutide. I'm like, how do you even exist? Like,
Yeah, and especially I think that's important too. And I know we're kind of bouncing around a little bit, but I think
yeah.
this is perfect kind of leeway into post show for a lot of people. Is I had clients that competed the last weekend of June. And so a lot of them right now are just in kind of like a cleanup phase. We're just kind of getting the body ready, making sure hormones, both men and women, are in a good spot before we get to anything. So a health phase, you can call it. And
Hmm.
I have clients now where four weeks, I think, post show. And they're like, "Hey, I'm still hungry." I'm like, "Good. You need
Good.
to still be hungry because
Yeah.
that means that your metabolism is still working and we can use that on our side to start feeding you more food." I have one client. that had worked with several different coaches. He and I are working together now. I took him right after his show. Like the day he got off stage, he had already told his coach, like, I need you up until the show, and then I'm good. I took him from that point forward. It's unreal. He is up 25 pounds. I'll pull a picture up next time. I
Hmm.
wasn't quite prepared. I didn't think we'd
Yeah,
touch on
you're
it,
good. You're good.
but he's up 25 pounds, uh arguably still stage lean. Like he posted a picture the other day of his stage photo and then him in a posing room, and I was like, dude, we could pull some water and put you back on stage in like a week
Hmm.
and you would
Hmm.
probably go from third to first. But his appetite has stayed fairly high. I keep him in that 6 to 7 range when I ask every week, scale 1 to 10, where's your
I
hunger?
want I want people there year round.
Yep, exactly. And we
Year
had so
round.
his
Yep.
load days now are 5 meals on Saturday, and then he gets an additional load meal after legs. And
Yep.
it is unreal. Like today, he's like, "Hey, I've been blood glucose 2 hours postprandial is like 105." And
Yeah.
today he was like, "Man, my temperature on load days is like 1 to 1.5 degrees higher than my average." I'm like, "Good. That means your metabolism's on fire. We can keep feeding you."
Well, it's like my guy Mel, for example.
Yeah,
Um, on stage, we had to do a lot of shit to even make him to the stage because he got
right.
really, really sick. Remember?
Hmm.
Um, and then he posted a photo the other day, and like I'm like, man, if we could have had this look on stage. And I don't know, he's probably 6 weeks post show now or something along those lines.
Think he's probably closer to 8 because I think, well, yeah, he might be
Yeah,
6. He was a
six to
couple weeks
eight,
right
right?
before I had all my guys go on stage, but
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
but
So
still 6, 8 weeks
he's
somewhere in there.
he's tighter, harder, drier, fuller, healthier, and um, because of that turn that happened, getting sick and like just everything we had to do, and he's so lean, his appetite is huge.
Yep.
But I think a lot of the times it's necessary for your first show to diet almost too hard
Oh yeah.
and just be miserable and just get it done. You're probably not going to win the show. It's your first show. Just have realistic expectations.
Hmm.
Get stupid lean and just be ready for that rebound.
Yeah.
Um, sorry, I'm making us bounce off. This is what happens when we don't catch up enough. We
I
just
know. No, it's
bullshit.
all it's good information though. It's
It
all good
is,
stuff.
yeah.
I agree. But yeah, the appetite for me, just kind of bringing it back, the appetite for me was kind of the deciding factor was when that not only was I becoming less and less hungry, I was getting fuller quicker due to the lack of appetite. Like for I look at appetite in two ways for me at least. One is the want for food, where you're like, oh, okay, cool, I'm ready to eat. That was starting to go away. But then more so, meal size hadn't changed. And I'm looking at this food like, oh,
Finishing the meal.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, oh, I
Yeah.
still got to get through the rest of this meal and then I got to eat again. I typically take about 15
So,
to 20 minutes to eat, and it was taking me about a half hour to get through a meal.
yep. So let's put three rules in place of when it's time to stop the hard push or the hard progression phase. I would say number one for me
Yeah,
is
well, let's do this. You give me your three, I'll give you
okay.
my three, and then we'll see what overlap we have.
Okay. Yep. Perfect. Number one for me is body composition.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep. If that goes to shit, there's absolutely no reason to go any further than you have. Um, with body composition, I like to put a generic number,
Hmm.
make sure that's clear, of 15 to 17% body
Yep.
fat,
I'm right on board with you.
a true 15 to 17% body fat.
Yep.
That percentage for the listeners and viewers, you can still see abs. You can still see leg lines, not deep
Mhm.
dugout legs, but you can still see where each individual quad
Yeah,
is.
there should be a separation between yeah, between the heads of the quad,
Yes.
not just
Yeah.
one big quad.
Sausage link.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So composition number one. Number two of when to stop the push or the progression phase is appetite for me. Um, Appetite, the ability to finish a meal,
Mhm.
like you said, that's when I know it's starting to get rough. When what I do, it almost sounds opposite, but I start trying to make my food taste better. In
Mhm.
prep, I don't care what my food tastes like because I'm so hungry. No matter, I can eat plain chicken and it tastes great. When I'm deep in an off season, I have to have a diet drink with every single meal so I can wash down the
And
meals.
that's what's funny. I was going through more diet soda
Yep. So do
uh
I.
than I would be in prep. Like prep,
Yep.
I'm good with like one, maybe two a day. I was
Yep.
like bubbly water, two diet cold, two diet cokes. Like I was
Yes.
like, all right, like this is what it takes for me to get the food down.
Yep. 100%. My number three is overall general well-being, and normally this shows its head in the form of lethargy for me.
Hmm.
When I'm so full of food all the time, and I'm heavy and slow, and just everything's a task. You forget your car keys upstairs, and you're like, maybe I'll just call into work. Maybe it's not worth the trip up the stairs.
Right.
Um, and that's an extreme example, but I've been there.
Hmm.
I've been a near 270 pounds before, and um, I've left my wallet in my pants upstairs, and I said, I don't need my wallet today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully,
I
I
got my
got
phone. I got
gas.
tap.
Yeah, I got my tap to pay, and
Yep.
hopefully, I don't get pulled over. I don't need my driver's license. I'm not getting that wallet, dude. I'm not going up those stairs. And
Hmm.
I've been to that point. So body composition, appetite, and overall feeling, lethargy being the most apparent in those. So, what are your three?
So I would agree with all three of those. The only one that I would probably add, and this would probably fall in place between maybe two of those as far as the eating and the lethargy, would be digestion.
Yeah.
Um, when digestion begins to slow down, and that usually is, I think, what leads to the lethargy. Um, is just having that slower digestion when food's just not moving like it was before. And that's kind of where I was getting in place with the like less bowel movements, smaller bowel movements, and I'm eating the same amount of food, which tells me that things are not being processed the same that they were weeks prior.
The,
Um,
the number one way to make digestion, I don't want to say number one, but it's up there, top five way to improve digestion is to space your meals out further.
and that's what I started doing. So
Yep.
I was almost religiously
Yeah.
2.5 hours, 3 hours, three
Yes.
hours, 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours. And then it
Yes.
became three pre-workout meal, then post was four,
Yep.
then three and three, 3.5. Like I was adding an extra hour or half hour to an hour to each one
Yes.
of my blocks, and it still was not quite moving. And that's when I was like, all right,
No, because your meals are taking longer to eat too.
exactly.
So even spacing them out further, it's still an issue. And then you're, whether you want to or not, you're consuming more salt and
Hmm.
minerals, so you're more thirsty, so you're drinking more fluid.
Oh, yeah,
Now,
two and a half gallons a day.
all of these things are compounding, and now motility is just such a different rate because the gut is just getting beat up.
Yep.
That's why a lot of the times, whether people are in prep or in a progressive season, I'm doing fasting normally on their non-training days. So a lot of the
Hmm.
times, my guys and girls are only eating 4 meals on their
Yep.
non-training day, and that's something I got from AJ. And I don't keep them there forever. Eventually, I just push them to like 5. Sometimes some people will go to 6. Like a guy like my guy Dave, Diesel
Hmm.
Dave. You've seen him on Instagram,
Yeah.
dude. He has to eat pretty much 6 load meals on his non-training day because
That's how my guy is right now.
yeah, because their metabolisms are crazy. So
Yeah,
yeah, so that covers that. I think that was really good. Three things for other people to look out for. Um,
absolutely.
and those are the things that they can mention to us as their coaches, right? Is,
Hmm.
hey, and you and I both track these
Yep.
each week on check-in anyways, but um, really notating that, like, man, my meals have been taking me 45 minutes to finish, and it's like,
Hmm.
okay, cool, let's start pivoting to something, right?
Yeah.
So
And that's
uh,
perfect. And you had talked about one of those pivots being increased cardio. And that takes me into kind of the second question that I've gotten from people, because a lot of people were like, I went religiously like 5, 6 days a week of doing cardio, um, to completely pulling it out. And people were like, well, why'd you pull your cardio? And there was a couple of reasons. And I think that it's something that we should touch on too, is when is it okay to pull your cardio? And I'm not talking scale back, I'm talking completely pull it out. I went from cardio to just tracking total numbers of steps to just completely pulling it all together. And for me, there was a couple of defining factors for that. One was I was very cardio adapted from doing it so much. Me walking on an incline of 10 at a pace of 3.2 to 3.4, which is a basically a light
it's a
jog or a
jog,
very
yeah.
brisk walk.
Hmm.
My heart rate would hit 115. Then it required me to utilize a weight vest. I started out with 20 pounds, and that was okay. Um, that would get the heart rate up for a while. And then it required me to do 40 pounds on the weight vest. Um, and then it got to the point where I was right back to 115, uh, doing the same thing. So I was like, all right, we're just going to pull it all together. I pulled it for 4 weeks. The last 3 days, I've been walking at an incline of 8.5, 9 with a speed of about 2.7. My heart rate's like 136.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's like, okay, cool. Now we can actually utilize this as a tool again instead of something I'm just doing that my body is adapted to. So as I come out of this push phase and everything starts to pull back down into, standard TRT ranges, that sort of thing, that is a tool because I really am not looking to, again, cut, but we do want to melt off some of the excess body fat that was accrued. Um, I can pull 400 calories, increase cardio or reintroduce cardio, and
Hmm.
it's like I've never done it before. Um, it's a fresh thing. And so that to me was the prime opportunity to pull it out as I knew I was coming to the tail end of this to be able to reintroduce it going into this, maintenance kind of area that I'll be in for a few weeks or months, to really utilize what cardio can do.
Yeah. Yeah. So uh, the other thing is just time in a day.
Yep,
Your meals are taking longer. You have to eat more food. That 30 minutes of cardio that can be used for eating food.
exactly.
So
And
that's yep, that's one thing there. You said just getting too efficient at it. Um, and here's the other thing. Um, it it's just a reverse tool, right? So it's like money, right? You can either spend less money or make more, right?
mhm,
Um, or you can do both, and now you have a significant amount of more money, right? So
mhm,
you can reduce output, and your calories technically just went up, right?
yep,
So now you didn't have to masticate and digest more food. All you had to do was remove some output, and there you go. You got more food technically, right?
yep,
So that's one thing. Um, I like to cycle cardio, whether people are in prep or off season. You know, there comes a point where they get so good at it, like you said, or they're just doing so damn much of it. It's
yeah,
like, okay, you just need a break. You
mhm,
literally not that I feel bad for you, you're still fat, but it's like you genuinely just need a break and we need to
right,
chill. And then we come back and it's like they're almost ready again to do it.
yep. Well, and you get to that point where it's a law of diminishing returns. Like you're only going to be able to do so much output before your body no longer is able to see it as a good thing, and it just starts putting added stress into
Yeah,
the
and
people.
that, right. And at what time are we then diminishing our ability to train
Yep.
the way we want to train? Because we are tapping into recovery at
Hmm.
some point. Some cardio can enhance recovery, um, but there comes a point where you're now messing with your training. I don't like to screw with anyone's training.
Yeah.
If they love it as much as you and I am actively trying to avoid screwing up their training so they can train harder, more, whatever they want to do. That was always John Meadows' theory. He's like, I keep cardio quite minimal, um, and that's so people can train harder. And of course, some people are just going to need a ton of cardio.
Yeah.
Sorry, hate to break it to you. You might be out there. You might be that one. My first prep, I was doing 100 minutes of cardio a day.
I think my highest prep I was doing about 120.
Yep.
And it, I mean, it ran me into the ground because the coach I had at the time didn't mitigate
Mhm.
or pull back at all. But I've been there and I've been to the 90 minutes and
Yep.
I tell every prep is different. Like
It is.
I've had preps where 30 minutes the entire time was all we needed. And then there
I
was
haven't
others
done.
where we had to push up to 90.
I haven't done any yet.
There you
This
go.
this is the first time ever. I haven't
See, and
done
I
any
contemplated doing that
cardio.
too because where my body is at now is so Like I said, I'm already down 5 pounds, and I
Yeah.
know that's partially glycogen water, but my
Sure.
body has been so responsive where in years past, if I removed a couple hundred calories, I wouldn't see that for maybe a week or so. Now I remove a couple hundred calories, I see that within a few days.
Yeah.
Um, and so
Well,
part of
that's
that played a
yeah.
role in this transition to where it was like, do I add the cardio back in? And my thought process was, well, with where I want to go next, I don't want to spend a ton of time in this maintenance phase. So I want to maximize it. I'm only doing 20 minutes.
Yep.
Um, to start out. And then as I get back into maintenance, it'll stay at 20, 4 days a week. And then as I get back into the next push phase, it'll still probably stay only at 20 minutes, 4 days a week. But
Yeah.
I will likely up it when I decide. I'm thinking probably January, February. I'll cut, just to be the jack dad at the pool in the spring.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
Then I'll start implementing it a little bit more. But
Mhm. Yeah.
but yeah, you have to know like when those times to pull back, when to utilize it, when to push, how much to push. All very important things.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And it's always going to be different.
Absolutely, every time.
Each time, each year, there's so many factors and everything
Hmm.
like that. So
And that's the thing is like, I used to be in the camp and everybody, I still hear a lot of people say it where, the body is a machine. The body is not a machine. A
oh
machine is
no,
a
no.
machine is a very standard input of X and output of Y.
I work
That's-
on machines.
yeah.
I work on machines, right? I've worked on machines since I was 19 years old.
Hmm.
They are nothing like people. I
No.
promise you, they're not even remotely similar. I I've never lost to a machine. I've
Yeah.
never gotten an argument with a machine. Um, they do what I tell them to, and they do it really well if I do my job well.
And you could take 10 machines and give them all 10 of the same inputs and get all 10 to do the same output.
Yep.
That is not going to happen with 10 different bodies.
You don't have to talk them off a ledge. Like,
Yep.
hey, I need you to produce 400 parts per minute today. The machine's not going to be like, man, well, my wheels are tired, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you literally, you like PLCs, right? Programmable logic controllers. That's what I
Hmm.
originally went to school for. Um, you literally put in a number and the machine does, yes, sir. Okay, here I go, right? And as coaches, we have to remind ourselves um, that we write these plans for people to follow. Um, those people on the other side of that screen have families and have emotions and have all these other factors that we want to ignore, you know, and we want to just be like, well, follow the damn plan. And part of that's true. Part of it is,
Mhm.
yeah, you do need to follow the plan. Machines can't make excuses. Humans can do nothing but make excuses.
Oh yeah.
They will find every excuse, and they what we've done as a society is normalize making excuses.
Hmm.
So we speak in excuses and we don't even realize that we're
Yep.
actually saying them until someone calls your ass out on it. Right? I can't do that.
Yeah.
No, what you mean is you don't want to, or
Hmm.
you feel like you can't.
Yeah.
You
Or my
actually,
favorite, I don't have enough time to do that. No, what you're
please.
saying is it's not a
Yeah.
priority to
Hmm.
make time for it.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
has time for anything. We make time for things that we
Yeah.
want.
Stop it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. How much time do you spend on that damn cell phone? You know
Oh,
what
I
I mean?
know.
How much time are you wasting watching our two ugly asses right now? All right. So,
Hopefully it's while they're doing cardio, so
yeah,
none.
it better be. That's right. All right. What do we got next?
Yeah, so we got some good questions. You sent some good ones my way.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are from the Chase Irons Discord. So, shout out to that Discord.
Yeah, shout out to the Chase Iron Discords, everybody that's supporting from there. We appreciate you guys, everybody on YouTube, and of course, Instagram. Always get some great questions through there.
Yeah.
So, this one is coming from a guy who has dealt with or dealing with a number of injuries. What are some of the injuries that you and I have had to deal with through our lifting careers? How did we go about working around them? And what were some of the things that we did to fix them? I'll let you jump in first on that one.
Yeah. My very first injury ever um, in the gym was a shoulder thing. And I thought it was like worse than it was, right? Because I was probably 15 years old, right? So I was about 2 years into lifting, um, and I was doing like a heavy seated low row or whatever, and the shoulder was just really really achy. Um, and I go to see different doctors, and they're like, "Well, you need to stop lifting," and like all this really really bad advice. And I took like 2 months off, and like it never got better. I was just training my legs for 2 months. Like I didn't even train my upper body. Like I did everything really really wrong, and it- so my point is, I eventually found someone very knowledgeable that they're just like, oh, dude, like your subscap is just tight. They loosened it up, and like I'm like, holy shit, I've been in pain for a year, and all you did was dig out my subscap and stretch the posterior capsule, and like I was good in like 20 minutes.
Hmm.
Um, so a lot of the times what we think is like a major injury, say let's say it's not diagnosed, we're just assuming it's really bad. A lot of times you're 2 weeks from feeling really really good, and you just need someone good to show you the right way. um, During my powerlifting life and phase, um, I had some sort of acute injury every single week,
Oh, I bet.
every single week. And so I was a master at working around it. I never worked through it.
Hmm.
You have to. Fred Hatfield. I don't know if you know Fred Hatfield. He was
Hmm.
the. I met him because he was Josh Bryant's mentor, and Josh Bryant was my coach for a long time. And when I met Fred Hatfield, he always had the saying of dancing with your body.
Hmm.
So you literally just listen to the body. Okay, it doesn't like this movement today. I'm going to pivot. This doesn't feel right. Something feels wrong. Pivot to something else. Um, and I mean, that's real, like, kind of a vague answer, but just listening to the body, getting your routine muscle work done, have
Yep.
someone dig out all the bullshit. Find a good chiropractor that knows what they're doing, not someone
Yep.
that just cracks you, takes your money, and sends you on the way. Find a really good chiropractor, right?
One thing I'll say on that
Yeah.
is because I've worked with a few. I have two in in my camp that are amazing. I send all my
Yeah.
clients to them. I go see them. And the reason I go see they specifically work on athletes. They
Hmm.
know their way around that type of body. And that is far different than a chiropractor working on somebody that deals with car wrecks all the time.
Yeah.
The second thing, and if you really want to find out if your physical therapist or your chiropractor is a good physical therapist or chiropractor,
They
go
better be in
see
shape.
them. Go see that too, which both of mine are.
Yeah.
One of them is doing an Ironman as we speak. It started about two
Oh,
hours
wow. Oh, yeah. I
ago.
saw your post about that earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, but here's a really simple test. I have yet to find a chiropractor or physical therapist when you go for your initial meet with them. If they say, if they get everything worked out, they ask you how you feel, you say, I feel good. And they say, good, come back and see me when you need me. That's a good
Yeah.
physical
Good
therapist,
call. Good
chiropractor.
call.
When
Hmm.
they get through it and they say, let's set up three more appointments, find
That's a
somebody
good
else.
call. Yeah. Because
Find
my,
somebody else because I've
yep.
worked with those. And every time I go see them for the two or three additional appointments, they don't do anything. They do a little bit of massage gun, a little bit of muscle manipulation. They don't solve the root problem. Every good physical therapist or chiropractor I've worked with has always said, if you're good now, come back and see me when you need me.
I've never, I've never thought about that, but both, uh, my friend Clarissa does all my muscle work. And then my chiropractor's Heather. And anytime I see both of them, what are we working on? This, and this. Okay, cool. When we're done, Clarissa does her own, front desk work and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
she'll just be like, hey, you want to set something up proactively? Are you good? And so with her, I stay proactive because it's
And that's
muscle work.
fine. There's
Yeah,
nothing wrong. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with saying, do you want to set something up,
exactly.
as
And then,
opposed to you need to come back
yep.
three more times.
And then Heather, and Heather has worked. She's done adjustments at the Arnold and things like that. So
Mhm.
super smart. But anyways, she'll just be like, "Yep, just call me when you need me." I'm
Yep.
like, "Okay, cool." And literally, if something's starting to feel off, I'll send her an email or a text message like, "Hey, let me know your next few days that are available," and she'll send them to me, and I'll
Yep.
come in. She knocks it out for me. I'm good for another X amount of months, right? So yeah, that's a
Uh,
very good point. I never even thought about that.
Yeah, I've worked with some chiropractors where it was like, cool, let's set up your next three appointments. And every time I come in and I leave, I feel the exact same. A little bit of relief for an hour or two, and then still in the same position I'm in. Um,
Yeah,
Prehab is what's that?
Chase does muscle work every Thursday. He's he's done muscle work every Thursday for like the last 5 years with the
Well,
same guy,
and
and
there's
it's
something to be
it's
said.
genius. Yeah,
Yeah. And that ties into the next point, which is prehab. Do prehab.
yeah,
Every morning that I do cardio, or at least a couple times a week, I have a band that loops around one of the machines in my gym, and I take it and I put my arm through it. I bring my arm behind my back and I let it pull forward, and then I pull it back against the resistance. That
yep,
has bulletproofed my shoulders and my chest. I have another band that's a little bit lighter, that's lower, that I will do adductor and abductor movements to make sure that my hips and my
yep.
adductor and abductors are staying strong, my glutes, and it takes me to go through both the arms, both sides, and my legs. I get through all that in about 3 to 5 minutes.
You know
Um,
what? Phil Viz, love him or hate him, whatever you guys think about him. One of the best things I ever heard him say was, um, these bodybuilders and even like just people in general, that lift weights, they lose flexibility, mobility so quickly because they're so bound up from training. And
mhm.
he's like, the number one thing to try to maintain is like a good amount of flexibility. And he's so right because people, let's say a chest, for example, Tommy, Devon, I can't grow my chest. And then you watch them do a chest press and they can't even get the chest to fully lengthen. And
They're here and here
yeah, it's like,
instead
well,
of,
yeah, because you're pressing with your shoulders and triceps, and your chest is so bound up, it won't even fully lengthen. Um, So my coach Danny, one of the number one things she's been working on with me lately, she's like, let the body like stop trying to brace everything down. Let the body go through the range of motion and like let that pec lengthen. And she's like, and when you get that muscle to the full length, you're actually going to get the full shortening on the other end, right?
Mhm.
And she'll explain that much better than me. I'm trying to see if she'll actually come on and explain
That'd
some
be
of this
awesome.
stuff.
That'd be
Yeah, for
great.
sure. So yeah, Phil was like one of the first people I ever heard like really, really um, push that idea. And a lot of that comes from Dante, like loaded
Hmm.
stretches. Like,
Yep.
okay, yeah, maybe stretching a muscle doesn't, facilitate any muscle growth according to science versus bro, right? But what if it does help just build some flexibility? And what if
Hmm.
that flexibility then could lead to muscle growth by increasing range of motion? Um,
Yeah.
hey, I mean, this is where science and bro stuff gets messy
Hmm.
because what if we're just not hearing what they're saying? And what if there is a purpose, right? So,
Yep.
yeah, maybe the loaded stretch directly doesn't cause, hypertrophy according to studies. But what if you just loosened up that pack and the next time you go to train it, you have an extra inch of usable tissue, right? Tell me
Hmm.
that's not going to cause growth. I don't see how you can argue that, but someone will. So,
Exactly.
yeah. What's
So
next?
body
What's
so
next?
body work is number one.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'm gonna say let's see, through careers, working around them. I think that's super important. Like you said, number one is go see somebody that knows what they're doing when it comes to body work so they can get you back up and running as quick as possible. If you need to do workarounds, this is where it's important to understand what movements you can do that target the same area that are either going to give you more stability, like going from a barbell to a dumbbell or either any free weight to a machine and be able to still work that area without putting too much force on the muscle that may be injured or hurt. And if it is completely injured, just give it time to rest. Like obviously go get checked out, but if you I had partial tears in my quad. Um, I was lifting with some friends and it was nothing crazy. I was doing hack squat, maybe
It
three
never
plates.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, everything I
Yep.
would normally do. And I went down, and as I was coming up, I just heard pop, pop, pop.
Yep.
And I go to rack it and I look over. I had headphones on, and both the training partners at the time were friends that we were training together, just are looking at me like this. And I take my headphones off. I'm like, did you guys hear that? And they're like, oh yeah, it sounded like somebody just ripped through bubble wrap. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not the only person. But I just stayed off that. I did, single leg movements. Well, first I pulled leg training out completely for about 2 weeks.
Sure.
And then I just did single leg movement. I did body weight. Like I started with just walking lunges, no weight, until I slowly made my way back. So do what you can do and work around with machines or equipment that provide more stability to be able to allow you to work through that.
Yeah,
Uh,
the worst one I ever had, worst injury I ever had, and it still bothers me to this day. Um, I deadlifted 675 for six, and I separated my rib on the fourth rep, and I
yeah.
still finished the last two. And I felt it happen, and I'm like, well, I'm not stopping this set because I'm going until I can't, right?
Mhm.
So I ended up pulling 675 for six, and that one set me back a long, long, long time. Um, so the number one way to work around injuries and, the number one way is just to avoid them. Just
Yes.
don't let them happen. Don't do stupid shit. I promise. I promise. If you don't get injuries, you don't have to work around them. Um,
Yes.
and that's easier said than done because sometimes we get hurt at work and blah 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 and all that fun stuff. But man, just don't get hurt. Just don't
Yeah.
get hurt, and it becomes so much more important as you get older
Yep.
because our training even becomes more important because we only have so much time in a day. And this is the one thing all of us really, really enjoy. Don't screw it up. Do
Yep. And one
not
thing
screw it up.
exactly. And one thing that will help that a lot of people I feel, especially in the bodybuilding community, don't talk about enough is we generally move in two planes, either forward, back, or up and down.
Yeah,
Include 1 day a week. I do simple exercises, like a windmill. There's another one that's like a rotational push press that I use maybe
sure.
10
Yeah,
pounds with. I'll do what is it? Oh, the Jefferson squat on the box or
sure.
Jefferson deadlift on the box, deficit Jefferson deadlift on the box. Just little things where I'm moving through multiple planes,
Yeah,
and all of that stuff will help you. Not only does it help stabilize, but it will help prevent injury. So
yep,
all
yep.
good things. All right, next one. So with both of us being coaches, how much
This
has
I
it,
really like this one. Yeah.
this is a good one. How much has it helped or hurt our own bodybuilding?
Let's start with help, right? Let's start with the good news. Um, the number one way to find your gaps in your own knowledge or your own success in whatever it is you're doing is to go teach it.
Yep.
The number one way to find your gaps is to teach it, right? Um, so when something problematic comes up, you're challenged and you have to go find the answer because these people are paying you to help them. Sometimes their lives depend on it, right? Um, and this is the same thing in my heating and air career or whatever career that you do. Um, you run into a problem and you have to learn real quick because you are the expert, you are the professional. So you better find the damn answer and do not make it up. Do not flirt with disaster. Make shit up. Don't make guesses. If you don't know the answer, now you need to go above your head and go ask your mentors, ask your friends that you trust. Hey man, like I'm having this issue with this client. Have you ever seen this? This is where, Devon and I are surrounded by a ton of good people that have taught us a lot of stuff. Um, and we can reach out to them as a resource. So AJ, Skip, Kurt Havens, Chase, Paul Barnett, like a lot of these guys have helped me with issues that I've run into with clients, and I'm so incredibly grateful for that. But um, that is one of the good things about being a bodybuilding coach and doing bodybuilding yourself
Yep.
is because one, maybe I've already experienced what someone is bringing to me, and maybe I haven't, which is my favorite. I love
Hmm.
it. I love being challenged because I will now have that tool forever, and I will have that thing forever because it will come up again in another
Yes.
client. I promise you. I promise you. We're not machines, but we're all pretty similar, right, in certain ways. Um, so that's where coaching and bodybuilding in sync help, right? Because now we can see things in ourselves. Hey, this client's experiencing the same thing that I have or that I did once, and I did this and it helped. Now I'm going to do this for them and it'll help. Or, now I get to go learn something because this person's struggling with this and I need to figure it out, right? Um,
Yep.
so that's extremely helpful. Um, one thing I told one of my friends recently is as a coach, I have the ability to pretty much engineer the people that I want to spend the most time with and communicate with on a regular basis.
Mhm.
So, out of all of my clients are badasses, right? And part of that is because I instill that into them that you are going to be a badass whether you like it or not, or
Yep.
you're not going to be on the team. I want to see everyone trying with the same intensity, the same
Hmm.
effort, same consistency, and I literally can build an army of people around me that are just badasses, like robots, right? Literally as robotic as possible. I had many clients that they'll do shit that I don't know if I could do it, but they inspire me to push even
Yep.
harder, and I feel like I'm part of that. Like
Oh yeah.
I feel like I brought that out in them.
Hmm.
I gave them the ability to, like, hey, you can do this, and if I can see it in you, you should be able to see it in yourself. And when they do, and then I have to take a step back and look at myself and be like, okay, well, you're telling all these people to believe in yourself. You better start believing in yourself, and
Yep.
you better go do badass shit too. Otherwise, you're just talking shit. So being a coach has pushed me even further to lead by example, right?
Hmm.
And I take that so close to my heart that if I'm going to tell these people to dial in, dude, I better be on my shit, right?
Yep.
I better not miss one thing on my checklist. And man, Devin, you and I both, we have excuses too. We probably have fewer than some, but we had to develop that skill. And sometimes those excuses still creep into our
Oh
brain.
yeah.
Yeah, I've forgotten to take my supplements, and while you're lying in bed,
Hmm.
it's like, damn, I didn't take that. And you're looking at the ceiling fan, and you're like, all right, I'm getting my ass out of bed. I have to go do it. Why? Because I would have been pissed off at my clients
Yep.
um, if they didn't do it, right? And I'll leave this last note because it's personal, and it just happened to me with the move and everything, and my life like being crazy for 2 3 weeks. My check-ins to Danny were not detailed. I was not filming the exercises she wanted to see, and she called me out on it. She's like, dude, what the hell are you doing? She's like, you're a coach. She's like, what if your clients weren't giving you the stuff that you need to accurately address their program and their needs and their problems and to reach their goals? She's like, you're not giving me everything I need. And she's like, I need you to do your part. And like, man, as much as I wanted to be like, Danny, I'm moving. I mean, I do heating and air, and it's 95 degrees out, and I coach, and like, I have, over 50 clients, and I have a baby and a wife, and like, you want to cry about it? And like, no, dude, that's all bullshit. That's all excuses. And I
Yep.
was literally, I had to take a strong look in the mirror and be like, dude, you just had a bunch of excuses for the last 2 3 weeks on why you weren't doing the check-ins that your coach deserved, and that you need to show her respect, and just like you ask everyone else to do for you. So those are the good things about being a coach while bodybuilding. Let's hear what else you have to add.
Yeah, I agree with all that. The biggest thing for me, that has helped is and it's to your point, utilizing different strategies, different tactics. I had a 2 year break from competing earlier in my career, and I spent those 2 years doing everything as far as like I did the keto diet. I did I did a protein sparing diet. I
Yep.
went like two months where literally it was green veggies and protein. That was it.
Yep.
Um, I've done all these things so that I have a bigger bag of tools to reach into when I get into, and it's not even prep, when I work with different clients. It's like, hey, let's utilize this technique. I don't recommend, a keto diet to stay on long term, but I think given the situation, high A1C, this and this going on, like let's run keto for a couple of weeks to a month or so, see if we can get this A1C down a little bit, and then we'll
Mm-hmm.
start reintroducing carbs and start pushing back in. I've done that with several clients and it's worked very well. Um, I've utilized things like protein sparing diets going into a show. Like, hey, you know what? For a week, we're going to go green veggies and protein only. It's not going to be long term, but it's what we need to do to kind of get out ahead. So it's allowed me to have a firsthand experience from different strategies, different tools, different levers that I can then pull with any client and have an understanding of the mechanism of why it works.
Hmm.
Not just, oh, well, I heard keto's great for this and this. Let's give it a shot. Like if you went to your doctor and they were like, oh, your markers for your LDL and your HDL are off. I heard eating Cheerios helps. Let's just go home
Yeah.
and have you eat a bowl of Cheerios for a week, and then
Yeah,
we'll see if that you'd be like,
exactly.
who the hell did I go to? Like you're finding a new doctor. So yeah, that would be my added take on that. As far as hurt, um, the only thing, and it's something we signed up for, so I can't say that it hurts. It I guess only hurts if you don't plan accordingly, is it can get very busy. Uh,
Hmm.
Handling clients, especially during shows, things like that. So I may have to put my training to the side, but I can't say that it hurts my own bodybuilding because if it does, that means that I did not effectively or proactively account for that time being lost. If I have a show, I'm up at 5 doing cardio while I'm going through check-ins or talking to my clients
Yep.
first thing in the morning while they're waking up because I got to be up to check on them anyway. So I'm knocking out my cardio. If I need to lift, I'm lifting in between shows. I can't think of a way that being a coach has directly impacted in a negative way my own bodybuilding. If anything, it's only made it better.
Yeah, that's where I'm trying to think of, um, I guess one thing that it's not so much hurtful, but like um, I get curious, right? Like I'll do something for someone. It's like, damn, that looks fun. I want to do it. And it's like, no, you follow your plan, asshole.
Yeah.
Like you stay in your own lane. This guy or girl gets to do this, but it doesn't mean you do, right?
Hmm.
Uh, and that's not hurtful to my bodybuilding because I just follow my plan. But I do, just like everyone else, I get the bug to, I'll write a plan for someone and be like, damn, this looks awesome. Like I wanna do this, And it's like,
Hmm.
all right, just stay in your lane. You're all good. Yeah, the timing can be problematic. Um, me prepping for a show adds some variable while I have other people in prep too. I need to make sure they're taken care of. But um, man, like I've done I've done this long enough where my stuff's dialed in, so um, it doesn't, I can't think of any true hurtful things, honestly. And that's a great problem to have because I see a lot of coaches retire from their own bodybuilding just to focus on their clients and which I'm totally on board with. That's cool. I just don't see myself doing that.
Hmm.
Um, and that's just me though. That's just me. So yeah, I think that was a cool question though. I think it um, and I really like the person that sent that in. They're very logical on the way they think about things. So I know they were genuinely curious on what we thought about that. So um, this
Yeah,
next
we
one's
got.
next one's fun.
So I'm gonna save that
Yeah,
one
yeah.
for the question after the next. We got a few more, but I think given time, we'll probably go with the one below it because I think that's a good one. And then we'll finish with what that next one is. Because I think we're running up on a little over an hour.
Let's. I want to do the last one too because that's
Oh,
for my friend Scott.
then
So
let's do that one, and
okay,
then the one that we were just gonna go to. We'll save the other four for the next show because I think all of those would be really good that we can really expand on.
I want to do the one above it too, but we'll touch on that quickly just
Okay.
because that's fresh and we can just hit that quick.
Okay. So then
But
why don't
that's,
I'll
yep,
let you ask the question just so I don't ask the wrong one. I'm pretty sure I'm on board with what we're talking
yeah.
about, but
So
I'll
let's
let you
do
go
let's do this one quickly.
ahead.
And the question is, the difference between the last 4 to 6 weeks of prep, mentally, physically, emotionally, instead of like let's say 9, 8 weeks out, right?
Okay.
Um, So, for you, in your experience, tell me a little bit about the last 4 to 6 weeks of prep, on what that was like for you mentally, what it was like for you, um, on your family, on your emotions, on all the things. What was the last 4 to 6 weeks like for you?
Yeah, for me, 4 weeks is really when it gets to that dig point. 6 weeks out, I'm still usually pretty good, but
Hmm.
it's all about the same, roughly. At the 4 weeks, that's when things start shutting down. As far as like long I shouldn't say shutting down. It's where I have to really be on top of things. If we are doing family functions, I have to make sure I know how long are we going to be gone, how long, it makes traveling a little bit more difficult. And don't get me wrong, like I've gone through preps where I literally left work on a Friday afternoon and drove straight to check-ins. Like
Yeah.
I'm not the guy that requires a week off during peak week.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
as far as mentally, I can't say that I'm not fully checked out within those last couple of weeks. At 4 weeks, it's everything is going in my phone that people are asking of me. If my wife needs me to do something, it's a note or a reminder in my phone because
Yeah.
likely I'm going to forget it. If I tell
Hmm.
somebody, "Oh, I'll bring that for you tomorrow," or I'll do X, it's going in my phone. Like reminders are eh, if I were to show you what my schedule looked like in peak week, it's just list after list
Yep.
after list of like 10 a.m. And it's little stuff like 10 a.m. grab this, 10:15 grab that. Like stuff that I know I normally wouldn't forget, I typically will start to. It just gets to that point. Everything hurts. My feet hurt. I have no there's if you're doing it right, your feet hurt. It hurts to sit because you've lost all the fat in your butt. Um, but from a family standpoint, and my wife fully understood, especially going into like North Americans, they were getting ready to go to a trip up north about 2.5, 3 hours to go see her brother. And she flat out was like, "Hey, me and the boys are gonna go. You hang back because I know that like it's you don't need to come this time around." And it's just the understanding of like having to pack 4 days worth of food, even if we're at a house, or having to go to the grocery store when we get there, having to bring a walking pad, or make sure that like for it's almost just as much of a chore for the family as it is for me.
It
And
is.
she understands that. She wants everybody to be in their space. She doesn't want me to go on the trip and have to break away from the family to go to the gym or to eat a meal or to cook a meal. But at 4 to 6 weeks, that's generally where things are at. Is it's like, hey, I'm here for the next 4 weeks. This is my camp. I am trying as hard as I can not to leave outside of that. For those that are new to prep, don't plan a vacation. Anything after like 16 weeks, don't plan a vacation. I mean, you can, but realistically, if it's just a weekend bodybuilding thing and that's fun and you like to do it, great. If it's I'm really trying to progress and make something from this, don't. You're putting more stress on you. You're putting more stress on your family. And for me, at 4 to 6 weeks, that's just where things are at. And we have the conversation as we get closer. Again, I've talked about it before. We do those weekly check-ins. Hey, how do you feel I'm doing? Um, what areas can I pick up to help you out? But when it gets to the 4 weeks, it's that same conversation. Plus, look, I'm trying my best to keep energy high, to hang out with the family. I just need you to understand that after a couple of weeks, like this will be done. But right now, energy is low, like everything is low, and I'm right now I'm just making it through. That's where things are at for me personally at that time in prep.
Yep. Um, After 4 weeks, I'm a disaster. 4 weeks out, up until a couple days out, I'm done.
Yeah.
Emotionally, I'm literally a disaster. Um, Physically, I'm fine.
Yeah.
It just extremely fatigued and heavy
Hmm.
feet and all the shit. But um, mentally, emotionally, I am tore apart at 4 weeks out. Um, I question everything. Why do I even do this? Is this even worth it? Um, Literally, absolutely. no desire to, be intimate and things like that. Um, Absolutely no desire. And that is extremely hard on your partner because they have no idea why. They can
Hmm.
kind of understand, but like they think it's them.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like absolutely not. It's just like, it's, um,
You're running on fumes, and your body is like, okay, this is something we're going to pull away from to put energy into other places to literally just function.
yeah. Yeah. So for me, 4 weeks out is all the way up until maybe 5 days out. I start feeling a little better when everything starts, food might start getting added back in and cardio starts getting pulled. Um, and then then there's the brighter light at the end of the tunnel. But I've almost dropped out of every single bodybuilding show I've ever done at 4 weeks out. Every single one. It's just it's the hardest stretch is the last.
Hmm.
Um, 8 to 6 are my favorite weeks.
Yeah.
I look the best. I feel the best. Um, I'm slowing down a little. You lose some steam by the end of the day. You're kind of tired, whatever. Um, 8 to 6 weeks out is my my gold spot, right? So, like for my lifestyle, guys and girls, man, if it's their first time dieting ever and they're like, "Hey, Tommy, I want to get super lean," I'm taking them to that 8 to 6 week
Yep.
out spot. Arguably the 6 week if they can
Hmm.
handle it. If not, that's cool. 8 weeks out from a bodybuilding show is a terrific, accomplishment.
Oh yeah.
Um, and that's where I try to get all my lifestyle people, if they're willing to go there with me, right? Because I think it's just an incredible experience. You're still going to get that amazing rebound, and you're going to limit some of the nasty shit that comes, 6 weeks and below, like you know dogging down the estrogen to absolutely nothing, and the everything that comes along with the last 6 weeks, the emotional. Dude, I've been 4 weeks out, just like bawling on the cardio machine, just like crying, like what? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? But um, very very real stuff, and people don't talk about it. Um, but yeah, dude, I've been in the shower crying like for no reason. Like, you start thinking about like people that have passed away and stuff, and it's
Hmm.
like, dude, you just need a cheeseburger. Like, you don't need to think about your dead dad. Like calm down. So, yeah, but very, very, very harsh on the mental system. But yeah, so he was just curious about that because he recently experienced a lot of those feelings, and he's like, what the hell is this? Like, that's
Yeah.
bodybuilding, baby. Isn't that what you want to do? Isn't that what they show? Like, um, people don't talk about it, and then once they go through it, they're like, is this normal? And it's like some of it is. Sometimes it hits people harder than other people. For me, it hits me very very hard because I do have past history of clinical depression and things like that. So yeah, when I take my body to that extreme, all that shit surfaces, it resurfaces.
And I feel
Well,
like that's where it, oh, sorry.
no, I was just going to say, luckily, through my years and years and years of dealing with different anxiety and depression, I built all these great coping mechanisms that I've learned from really great therapists and mentors and things like that.
Mhm.
So I make my way to that show, but not with years and years of building those skills to be able to do it. Right.
We'll have to, I would love, maybe next show we'll start back in on that and start with what some of those coping mechanisms are, because that's
We
really
will.
important
Yeah.
to have.
Yeah. We can go through like, um, we'll do an episode where we just talk about prep and like what to expect,
Hmm.
starting at 20 weeks out. And we'll break it down into like 3 or 4 week blocks, and
Yeah.
you and I will just share like what's expected at these benchmarks, right? um, so then people can know, at least from our experience, is this normal? Like, is Should my feet feel like cinder blocks? Well, yeah, they should, unfortunately. Um, Maybe not the whole time, but yeah, you're going to get some cinder blocks, I promise, if
Yeah.
you want to be in actual shape, right? Um, we'll do this last one as long as you have time. Are you okay with that?
Yeah. 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 I got about 10 minutes.
Okay, cool. That's all we'll need. This is from my friend Scott. He is a classic competitor. He looks incredible. I do not coach him, but he's just a good friend of mine, and we talk shop a lot. Um, General strategy and perhaps a case study of our experience, how we would fill out a classic competitor who weighs in the night before, probably around 4 p.m., and has an 8 a.m. prejudging the next day. Currently, he's 5 pounds under the cap um, in the morning. So in the morning, he's 5 pounds under the cap. Weigh-ins would be at 4 p.m.
Mhm.
and prejudging would be at 8 a.m. the next day. So he wakes up in the morning. Um, he's 5 pounds under the cap. He has to weigh in at 4. And how are we going to load Scott for the show? Um, why don't you start? Because I have a feeling we're going to be very similar in the way we do this. So let's hear what you would do for Scott. He wakes up, he sends you his check in photos. Devon, I'm 5 pounds under my weight cap. We have to weigh in at 4 p.m. today. What's our plan?
Oh, considering body composition is pretty good.
His is immaculate.
Okay.
Like he front to back, he's very very even. He's already extremely lean. It's a great look. So and he can take a lot of food.
Okay, that was going to
Yeah.
be my next
Yep.
question. I was going to say because
He
it's
can
hard
take
to
a
say
lot of food.
general, but being that you know uh,
Yep.
the adaptation, because that's the only thing I'd be careful for is am I loading him hard the night before or the morning of, depending on how he processes food, how the stomach, we want to make sure obviously we're staying away from any large amounts of stomach distension.
Mhm.
But likely what I'm going to do is first of all, we're doing photos if possible, even weight after each meal.
Yes.
Likely heading into this day, we already have a good idea of photos and weight based on amounts of food and things like that. So we're probably going to keep it, at least for me, I'm probably going to keep it the same up until 4 p.m. It's going to be send me photos, right before check-in. Go get checked in. You're under the weight cap still. Cool. We're 5 pounds. The plan would be to stay roughly 5 pounds under. I don't want to mess with potentially going over for whatever reason. Um, at that point, it's going to be if it's 4 p.m., we're probably cool under the weight cap right at check-ins. Immediately, we're doing some sort of high carb meal with a protein and a little bit of fat tied to it. Probably going to assess then around 6 p.m. And then it just comes down to the type of food that we need. We're either going to stick with something like rice, cream of rice that I know is going to be quickly digested. You can eat a lot of and not have to worry about distension. Or it might call for a burger and fry. If what we did after 4 or 5 o'clock didn't really fill you out, now we're around the 7 o'clock range, then yeah, it might be, hey, we need a burger. The cleaner food options is just not getting us where we need to be. Then I'm probably going that route and then assessing again around 8 or 9 p.m. to see if there's anything else we need to get in before the morning of, and then of course assessing where weight's at. The morning of, if it's an 8 a.m., I want you up by 4:30, 5 o'clock so we can get at least one meal, potentially two before we go on stage with likely a pre-stage. So about 20 to 30 minutes before you're going on, whether that be, a half a sausage McMuffin with egg and some Diet Coke, a muffin, some Rice Krispie treats, whatever that looks like. But one, likely two meals with a pre-stage meal going into that. That would be me. And it's hard to give definitive amounts or types of food
Yeah,
without
that's
directly
impossible.
working, but that would be a
Yeah,
general
yeah.
strategy that I would use.
Yep, mine's almost identical. I would start the process Thursday,
Yeah.
assuming that his weigh in is Friday night.
Exactly. Yep.
So Thursday morning, you are sending me your pictures, your weight, and I'm prescribing that first meal. Two,
Mhm.
3 hours later, you're sending me pictures, weight. I'm looking, prescribing that next meal. I'm doing this, I'm watching the clock, and I see your weight photos and the food that we've eaten up until 4 p.m. I know what you're going to weigh tomorrow.
Exactly.
I promise. I promise. Unless something crazy happens, I know what you're going to weigh tomorrow. Likely, I'm actually trying to pull down the weight even further. So, Friday, you're going to wake up 7, 8 pounds under the weight cap. You're
Hmm.
going to be harder. I can load you more. And now, I built a slightly more taller ceiling for myself. Um, so Thursday, I'm prescribing each meal. I'm watching the clock. I'm watching the weight, watching what each meal does to the weight. I'm watching the look, and I'm manipulating things like fluid intake, sodium, potassium intake,
Yep.
leading up to that 4 p.m. And I'm literally writing the blueprint on Thursday.
Hmm.
So there's no way I don't know what you're going to weigh tomorrow at 4 p.m. Um, and sometimes I'll start this as soon as 3 weeks out. I'm
Oh yeah.
getting people's nighttime weight and morning weight. So
Hmm.
in general, I have a great idea of what they lose overnight. You
Yep.
know, um, so Thursday, I'm starting to incorporate things like black coffee,
Hmm.
um, replacing some of their water with black coffee. I may be using a little bit of a diuretic or a little bit of vodka or both, right? So I am doing these things and I'm just building a blueprint and seeing how the body responds. And then the next day, hey, let's say I nail it on Thursday. Um, and 4 p.m., you're 3 pounds under the weight cap. And that's on Thursday. Friday, I'm probably going to repeat damn near the same exact thing we did Thursday,
Yep.
and it's all in my notes because we've been texting each other for days and
Hmm.
days and days. Um, I'm probably going to repeat that. And then after the weigh in, um, that first meal after the weigh in, I'm going to hit it hard.
Yep.
And I'm going to give you a good amount of food and just see what the body does, right? So I'm going to hit you with food, fluid, sodium, or potassium and or both, whatever I decide at that point. Watch what the body does. Then I have another meal before you go to bed.
Hmm.
So I'll look at the photos again, and I'll probably hit that meal before bed a little bit hard too, depending on if you're dry enough, if you're holding water, and then like you said, the next morning I want them up early, 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 early. As long as they get 8 hours of sleep, I do
Yep.
try to have people get 8 to 9 hours of sleep before a show. Um, if they get a little more sleep than normal, they're probably going to wake up even lighter. So
Hmm.
now, yeah, I'm getting all that sorted out days before the show. So then
Oh yeah.
there's no guessing like Friday morning, like, damn, we got to weigh in at 4. No, I'm just going to do what I did yesterday with a few
Exactly.
manipulations. If I know the first 2 meals were too light, I'm going to add a little bit of carbs, while being conservative enough that I know that I'm not going to push you over the weight cap because that's just silly.
Yeah.
Um, I'd rather hit it on the back end and clean it up overnight or in the morning because you still
Exactly.
have
Yeah.
time. Um, but like, I really don't push people extremely hard for fullness. I
No, and we've
I
and
don't.
we've talked about it before. If you're doing it right, and I say right in the sense of exactly what you just said, you're checking weight the week before. You know what the output for the input is going to essentially create. Um, then it just becomes doing what you did and repeating that. And then at the end, it's, filling out a little bit more. Like you said, in the morning, it's enough food. I mean, you should, in theory, be ready to walk on stage by Thursday, regardless of where the weight's at. Friday,
any
yeah,
of the,
we're gonna,
any of those
yeah,
days on peak
yeah,
week. Yeah,
yeah. Friday,
yeah,
we're gonna fill you out a little bit, but Mondays, let's just get a little bit of food in your stomach so you're not starving, so that your
yep.
hormones are in a good spot, so that you're happy. And then let's just hold that. because
I, I
shoveling a ton of food the morning of is probably not going to affect you
no,
until after you're on stage moving that
yeah,
from
it's
posing. And
yep,
then you're going
it's
to see the benefit maybe in the night show, but it's the bulk of the work is going to be done Thursday and Friday. And then Saturday morning of the show, it's just a matter of keeping you from not wanting to chew your arm off.
yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I, for my male bodybuilders, I start this process Wednesday. You
Hmm.
are sending me photos every 2 hours and weight. And I'm prescribing every meal and fluid and sodium and
Yep.
or potassium. I'm prescribing your next 24 plus meals leading up to that show. Um, on the fly, and that's just how it is. That's how um, I found it works best. And what I'm doing is trying to find a weight to look
Yep.
ratio of what I prefer. Um, and if you find that Wednesday, Devin, like it's not hard to find it
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday. I promise.
Hmm.
Um, because all you're doing is just slowly just turning up dials and manipulating the levers and just balancing the water and with sodium, maybe a little diuretic if you need it. It's all just very small little tweaks. And when I say diuretic use, we're talking like quarter or even sixth of a tab, like tiny tiny stuff.
Yep.
And I rely a lot on that black coffee.
Hmm.
It seems to really work. I got that from AJ. Most of the people that have prepped with me, they're seeing that, and um, that's generally how I like to dry people out. And if they need a diuretic, then we use a little bit, right?
Yep.
But yeah, small sodium manipulation, nothing wild, no crazy water loads or anything. Um, I like to use vitamin C. I
Mhm.
ramp that up. B complex, we use that to help dry them out. So all of these things are at play, and you're just watching like a hawk every 2 to 3 hours. So,
Love
um,
it.
yeah, nothing crazy. No Hail Marys. Don't just go eat a box of donuts and take a Diazide and hope you wake up looking like Sean Roden. It's just it's not the game I play. At least I'm
No.
much more conservative and calculated when I'm prepping people.
Oh yeah. Awesome. I love that. Well, we got a couple other questions. We'll get to
Yeah, we'll
those.
save those. Yep.
Save those for next week, and they'll I think they're good enough that they will probably take us most of next podcast, and I'm sure we'll get a few others to trickle in. So again, if you guys have questions, hit us up on either the Chase Discord, the Chase Irons Discord, Instagram, of course, always works, or YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel just stay relevant. And then the one ask that I have for everybody is just simply share this. Share this podcast with somebody that you know that you think would get value from that or from this. That's the best thing that anybody could do for us. Um, Anything else before we take it out?
No, man, I think that's good. And we are going to start actively be doing these more. I know
Yeah.
I had a bunch of people DM me like, because we'll post Ken's show. We'll post in between two dumbbells, and they're like, "Yeah, that's cool, but when's Beyond the Bar coming?" It's like, man, I know you were traveling, and
Traveling, you had the move, but I
look
think
at
things
us making
are,
excuses like we just said not to, right?
I know
So yeah,
things
more.
are slowing down though.
Yep. More of these are coming. We're going to get on a more regular schedule, and we're going to be better about it for you guys. As long as you help us share the stuff, and we want to get the content out to people. But this is time away from our families and things like that. So we really want to build this podcast that we have, and we're dedicating a lot of time to it. So that's all we ask of you guys is just to help us out in that way. So,
Much appreciated. Well, Tommy, let the people know where they can find you.
yep, Tommy John Coaching on Instagram and TommyJohnCoaching.com. And then obviously the Chase Irons Discord is where I spend a lot of time answering questions for free and things like that. So, how about you, Devin?
Yep. dgrow39 on Instagram. Hit me up with any questions you might have. Happy to answer and go over those with people individually, as well as any questions you might have for the show. You can also catch me at www.nxtlevel-training.com or shoot me an email at devon@nxt level-training.com. That does it for this episode of Beyond the Bar. We appreciate you guys tuning in and watching, and we will catch you guys next time.